It's been 8 years since we got a new A$AP Rocky album, okay? But the Harlem rapper, never far from the limelight. Maybe you saw him walking the runways at Paris Fashion Week. Maybe you saw him starring in movies like If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You with Rose Byrne.
Everything is under control.
Or Highest to Lowest with Denzel Washington.
But you hear me now, though, right? You hear me now, though, right?
Or maybe you caught his high-profile court cases where he narrowly avoided jail time for assault charges. Or, of course, you might just know him as Rihanna's baby daddy. But now, after all that, A$AP Rocky has delivered his long-awaited new album, Don't Be Dumb. And our friend Rollie Pemberton has thoughts on the new album. Welcome back, Rollie.
Hey, what's good?
It's good. I'm glad you're here. Listen, before we get into the new record, I think it's worth reminding people what made A$AP kind of a major rapper in the first place. So we're going to hear a bit of the track that put A$AP on your radar. Let's have a listen to that.
Them sixes, them Benzes, I gets the freshies. Rap Simmons, Rick Owens, usually what I'm dressed in. Blowing blunts, rolling doobies up, smoking section, groupies rush.
Okay, so that's 2011's Peso, which Rollie knows well enough that he's singing along to in the studio. Rollie, so talk to me about the impact that song or A$AP in general had on hip hop when he first broke out. Like, what made him so unique?
Yeah, that was a huge moment in hip hop because we'd never really seen anybody who had combined, his fashion, which was high fashion mixed with streetwear. That was not a thing. It seems very common today, but especially in hip hop, he was wearing skinny jeans. People weren't doing that yet. Musically, he was also combining some things that were very disparate. You had the Southern rap influence, the kind of Houston rap, like chopped and screwed vocals with hipster kind of indie oriented vibes. So yeah, it was very original at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned the fashion thing, right? We got to talk about how huge this is, like the way he kind of emerged from this moment as this style icon. Because, look, he's got his own clothing line and creative agency, OG. He recently became the first creative director for Ray-Ban and then a brand ambassador for Chanel. This rep as a fashion guru, how did that develop? How did that fuel his stardom?
Raf Simons, Rick Owens, usually what I'm dressed in. Those were the bars. And back then, nobody was rapping about those brands. He was joking on the podcast that he probably 5x'd Rick Owens, their market share, just from rapping about them. But people were not really on that tip back then. Especially in New York rap, it was very orthodox, and he brought in all these new things. He's one of the first people to really connect with Virgil Abloh and with the Pyrex Vision stuff. He was always a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, he's also the guy that wears a babushka, right? Yes. Which is, the scarf that old women wear. And if you actually if you search Google images for a babushka, he comes up top, right?
Mm-hmm. So he's the babushka boy.
Yeah. Would you say, you're a guy that's into both hip hop and fashion. Do you ever take any of those fashion tips yourself?
Yeah, he's on the Pinterest board. For sure. He made it.
All right. Well, look, I wonder if, the A$AP's kind of fashion adventures, if that's kind of if people assume that that's what has been distracting him from his music because it's been, of course, 8 years since his last album testing. So now we got the new record, Don't Be Dumb. Why do you think it took so long?
Well, he had a lot going on. He had a couple very serious legal cases. He had the one in Sweden, which he was convicted for assault. Mm-hmm. And he was in prison for a month, and Trump even got involved and tried to get him out. And it was just a global geopolitical quagmire. Mm-hmm. And then he had the other one with one of his ex-friends, a member of A$AP Mob. He beat that case, though. Mm-hmm. But between that, having 3 kids, he made a couple movies that came out last year. And I think he had a lot of problems with leaks, actually. That's one of the major things is he would make all his music and people in the studio would sell the tracks and then he would just never release them. So right. He had a lot of problems with that, but now he's back.
And just to clarify, A$AP, he was found not guilty on those 2 counts of felony assault stemming from the 2021 shooting incident in LA with the fellow A$AP member. Prior to that, he was found guilty of the 2019 assault that took place in Sweden, where he spent about a month in prison before his trial, but then was spared prison time in his sentencing. Now, in terms of back to the album, Don't Be Dumb, he had previewed these 2 singles and even performed both of them on SNL this last weekend. So, just to give you all a sense of the range of this album, let's hear a little bit of the track Helicopter.
Like killer can. My braids looking like I could be Jim. They looking around like that could be them. Lot of options around and you could be them. If we talking about pockets, you know my fat. We checking your chances, they could be thin. On the line, another dollar, let me in.
So that sounds like the ASAP we're familiar with, the ASAP you are bouncing in the studio to right now as we speak. But let's hear a bit of this other song, Punk Rocky. Okay, so very different vibe. Even the way you're bouncing to it's a very different. It's more of a head nod than a real vibe with it. But so Rollie, like, what are you making of kind of the stylistic breadth of this album? Like, is it actually holding together for you?
Yeah, for sure. I think even just within hip hop, it's pretty diverse. He has he has trap songs, he has some rage rap, he has some boom bap. On top of that, he's got kind of indie rock vibes that you hear there. You know, I wouldn't even call that punk. He calls it punk rocky. It's very indie rock to me.
Yeah.
But I think that's very normal in his discography. He really sees himself as this ultimate melder of different styles, and I think he sees himself as this kind of bon vivant who sees the connections between these to separate genres. More than other rappers do. So I'm not surprised to see how diverse the album is.
Well, how are fans reacting to the album?
I think it's been very positive. Just everything I've read online, a lot of people are saying it's a bit of a return to form for him. I think you get a lot of classic ASAP vibes, a lot of the Houston influence stuff, which was a big thing with the chopped and screwed vocals, that reemerges a couple times on the album. I think people are pretty happy with it so far.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Helicopter seems to be like North Carolina. Like it's nodding to P.D. Pablo, right?
Yes. Very referential album.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, there's been a few other tracks that have been getting a lot of attention over the last weekend because ASAP seems to be dissing Drake, as apparently everyone does nowadays, right? So look, the song Stole Your Flow, that's the most obvious seemingly diss track targeting Drake, but then there's some subtle jabs on the songs No Trespassing and Playa. Rollie, what's the deal here? What do people need to know about why Drake has yet another beef on his hands?
Well, I think this is an issue with Drake where, he throws stones and, you're going to get hit back, right? Drake dissed Rocky on Family Matters during the Kendrick beef. And I feel like this is just retribution for that. It's hip hop too. This is very hip hop. You take shots, you battle people, and it's not just Drake getting it on this album too. There's a bit for Travis Scott, who I think A$AP Rocky sees as somebody who really copied him a lot. So yeah, he's just taking on all comers.
There's also For All Your Dogs, where Drake's throwing a lot of shade and pettiness at A$AP Rocky and Rihanna's relationship because, of course, Drake and Rihanna seemed close at some point. So
yeah, Rocky, he had the ultimate response, being like, my baby mama's Rihanna.
Yeah.
We're unbothered.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, so that's all the time we have left talking about A$AP Rocky. Rollie, thank you so much for walking us through this album.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
Rollie Pemberton is a writer and rapper, also known as Cadence Weapon. You can get more of his thoughts on the new A$AP Rocky album, Don't Be Dumb, at his Substack newsletter. And also, if you're around Hamilton, you could see Cadence Weapon perform at Bridgeworks this Friday. And also, no matter where you are, you can listen to A$AP Rocky's Don't Be Dumb wherever you get your music. That's it for the podcast today. I'm Radheyan Simonpillai, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. We'll see you tomorrow.